So, Destiny, you have made statements such as, conservatives need to be afraid of getting killed when they go to their events so that they turn down the temperature. You repeatedly refused to condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk. I won't woo over that. And after his murder, you tweeted making fun of his death, saying, I heard when he died he fed an entire village of vampires because so much blood came out of his neck. Following the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, which killed one of his supporters, you said that you have zero sympathy for anything that happens to him or to anyone who supports him. You have also said that your only regret is that Trump's assassin didn't spend enough time practicing first. So there are a couple of things wrong with this. First, it's hypocritical. You cannot claim that Trump is a threat to democracy while simultaneously calling for political assassinations, which are a threat to democracy. You have also criticized left-wing figures for doing the same thing, like when the streamer Hassan tweeted a picture of a makeshift gun at Senator Tom Cotton. Second, it's immoral. As a public live streamer with millions of viewers, you make it more likely that someone in your audience will take matters into their own hands and start killing off conservatives. Especially as a study by the Center for Strategic and International Studies found that left-wing political violence now outnumbers right-wing political violence. Third, it's bad for the country. Your rhetoric amplifies the extreme left and right. When conservative influencers like Matt Walsh say that the left wants me dead, your statements provide proof to that claim. There's a reason why extreme left-wingers like Hassan retweeted your statements about Trump's assassination. Political polarization destroys politics at the state and national levels when parties are unwilling to work together, and the Journal of Democracy finds a clear link between political polarization and political violence. And fourth, I think it's bad for you personally. You could be much more influential than you are right now if you didn't make extreme and hateful statements like these. You have a history of doing this that exceeds Republican behavior. You were deplatformed from Twitch for inciting violence during the BLM riots, and the mayoral candidate with whom you campaigned with had to cut ties with you for your hateful rhetoric. And since your goal is to help Democrats, I'd say that your rhetoric harms the movement that you claim to support. Ultimately, you are personally responsible for the extreme and divisive political climate that you critique. Your rhetoric inflames the American political climate, and I think that you have a net negative impact on the political space.
Jeez. Okay, so for my response to this is something that I've been stressing to people. There are two things that people see, and there's a third thing that people don't see. When it comes time to be civil in a conversation, both sides have to agree to that. One side can't agree and the other side not agree, and one side can't force agreement on that. And this is a thing that conservatives have been relying on liberals not understanding for decades. When one person, comes into an area to start a fight with another person, that other person fighting back is not being hypocritical, is not being immoral, and is certainly not engaging in the same action as the person who came in to start the fight. So when it comes to speaking about, say, you talk about how I never condemned the murder of Charlie Kirk, or I never said that the murder of Charlie Kirk is bad. It's actually not true. On that Piers episode where I was fighting with all the conservatives about it, I think twice on that show I said, yeah, nobody should be getting killed for political violence in the United States, but the right will not say this. And that is an unacceptable world where one side of this country has continuously, over and over again, disavowed political violence. I'm talking about like the political leaders. I'm talking about the Joe Bidens, the Barack Obamas. I'm talking about the differences when the assassination attempt was made against Donald Trump. Joe Biden gave a speech. He didn't blame either side. He said that everybody just needed to bring things down. He didn't mention that the shooter was Republican. He didn't blame Trump for his rhetoric. When Donald Trump was supposedly being hunted by Iran, Biden increased his Secret Service personnel, even though he had no obligation to. Meanwhile, Donald Trump stripped Secret Service protections from Kamala Harris and other Democrats as soon as he was in office because he, I won't say what his motivations were. I don't even know if he knows what his motivations are sometimes. And Donald Trump continues to do one-sided attacks against only one section of the country when it comes to calling for people to stop being violent. He went on Fox and Friends a day or two after Charlie Kirk was dead, and he said that when the left wing does violence, it's because they're evil. When the right wing does violence, it's just because they're just tired of the left wing doing it. When Biden was running for president, he had to disavow all the violence of the BLM protests. When Donald Trump ran for president the second and third time, he did it with the promise of pardoning every single January 6ther and every single person around him that was engaged in seditious conspiracy or a number of other crimes that were doing it to further Trump's interests. And he followed through with all of those pardons. When it comes to violent rhetoric, I'll make a lot of jokes. Now, conservatives supposedly make a lot of jokes. They said, I remember when Elon bought X that comedy was legal again. Apparently it's not, because I catch a lot of heat for some of my tweets, but they have no problem when it comes time to making jokes about Paul Pelosi, when he was almost beat to death by a guy in his house with a hammer, only because the cops showed up. The guy didn't get to go through with it. They have no problem making jokes or conspiracy theories about different shooters. Donald Trump didn't even acknowledge the death of the 2 Minnesotan lawmakers, or the one Minnesota lawmaker and her husband, and the other one that was attempted to be killed. When he was asked about this in the White House, he said, who? He didn't even remember it. This environment is not equal. So all this is said, and the most common response to me is basically, well, aren't you just making it worse? So I don't think that standing there and allowing yourself to have the most unbelievably inflammatory, hateful, disgusting, threatening remarks made at you as a side over and over and over again by one side and remaining quiet, I don't think that there is any virtue in that. I think insofar as you allow yourself to be ran over and destroyed by one side that has absolutely no limitations on how they conduct themselves, I just don't see what the virtue is in that.